Hello and welcome to today's video that is brought to you by my Patreons. And as I always say at the beginning, if you also appreciate my content and would like to support my channel, don't hesitate to visit my Patreon page. The link is in the description. On most of my videos you leave a lot of comments and I appreciate that a lot. A lot of them are very kind. I read all of them. I try to reply to all of them. I know that I don't, and sometimes they are so many so I forget or time passes. Anyway, I try to reply to everyone. You send me also a lot of questions, also on the mail, and so I thought to make a Q&A to reply to a lot of questions in one time, so I don't have to write so much. And I have here several. I will try to do all of them. I hope that the video doesn't become too long. Otherwise I will leave a comment under. Let's get started. Han Kwan Nienhuis, and I think that this is a Dutch guy, so shoutouts to Holland, says, I believe that you have a daytime job as in a luthier workshop and you run the channel and work for other clients from your attic. How do you manage this? So I don't have a day job in a luthier shop. I always work here in this space that you see in my videos. I work as a freelance violin maker for other shops, mostly string instrument shops that trade in instruments but are not owned by a violin maker. Most of them are musicians, and that is what I do every day. I collect the work that has to be done. I work here at home. This workshop is in my garden, and then I bring it back. And one day per week I work in a shop that is not a luthier shop, but it is a very big musical instrument shop, and I do there the bowed instrument section, and I run the channel. Horace Chan asks how the Sunpost position affects the sound. The Sunpost can be moved in two different directions, closer to the F-hole or closer to the middle of the instrument, so in this direction, and in this direction, so closer to the bridge or farther away. You can also change its length, and that will change the tension that it puts in the instrument. The tension and the length change the stiffness of the instrument, and for my feeling, the more tension and the more stiffness, the harder and harsher becomes the sound. This direction changes the balance between the higher and the lower two strings, and it is always a compromise. What you correct in one side, you ruin at the other side. So if the lower part sounds softer than the higher part, by pulling the Sunpost towards the F-hole, you bring them a bit up and the high strings go lower. Then when you move in this direction, you change the balance between warmth of the sound and loudness. Going closer to the bridge makes the instrument sound louder but also more brilliant, and going away from the bridge makes this instrument sound softer but warmer. The next comment comes from Laurens Baum. He writes, hey, can you talk a bit more about the varnish you bought from Yoha and the instructions, so what they say to be the steps and what you changed to it. Thanks. You're welcome. I didn't change a lot, to be honest. I only changed the beginning. They advise to use the gelatin, but I changed that with mastics that I like more, and for the rest I follow their steps. I only add also a bit of color in the varnish, but I think that you have to do it, otherwise the instrument won't become as dark as you would like. What I also do differently is that between the layers I don't sand the instrument with a rotostone powder that I have in the kit, but I use micromesh. The last thing that I do differently than what they say is that I don't use the grip polish that is in the kit, but I just use some lynched oil that I'm used to. I have used that already 15 years. I do that and I like it a lot. It works fine, so why not? I think that this question also comes from a Dutch guy who is called Wouter, and he's asking where he can find wood for his new project, a full-size cello. If you indeed are coming from the Netherlands, there is a shop in Arnhem that is called Arnhemse Fijnhouthandel, and they sell also some wood for both instruments, not a lot. You can have a look there. Otherwise, there are two choices. One is Dictum. They have wood that is already a bit older, so you can use it to start your new project without having to wait 10 years to get it dry. Or you can order wood at Rivolta, that is in Italy, close to Milan. I will put all the links in the description, but they don't have very old wood. Mostly they cut and sell immediately. So all the wood you have to buy there is fresh, and you have to let it dry for 5 to 10 years. There are also some other shops that sell wood, some in the States and some here in Europe, and I will put some links in the description. Let's go ahead to Alan Morris, who asked what my opinion is on violin makers that deliberately age the instruments in the varnishing process. I have to say that at the beginning, when I was studying in Cremona, I didn't like it. I liked more the idea of making a new violin and make it look new. Also, I didn't like it so much because in my feeling it came out of desire from clients to have an old instrument, and that they would buy easier an instrument that looks old because they have the feeling that it is old and sounds better. I didn't like that so much, so I was a bit against it. But now I have to say that I like it. If it is done good on the proper way, I like it a lot. I see instruments that are aged on a bit the wrong way. You can see when a violin maker knows what he's doing and when they are just doing something. You know, the places where the varnish has disappeared are the places where a musician keeps his instrument in his hands, and that is different on a cello and on a violin. And sometimes you see marks on a cello that belong to a violin or opposite. I don't like that so much, but there are a lot of violin makers that do it very nicely, and then I can appreciate it. I also don't feel so much anymore that the client wants an older instrument than a newer one. I have seen, after working more than 10 years in a shop, that people appreciate the most the sound of the instrument and then the appearance. Of course, if you have a really ugly instrument, it becomes harder to sell, but the sound is the number one priority, and then the appearance. As I was editing the video, I realized that it became too long, much longer than I wanted to become, but I have already replied and recorded everything, so it is a pity not to publish it. So the second part will be in a couple of months. If you haven't seen a reply to your question in this video, maybe it is in the second part. So that's it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Many thanks to the Patreons for supporting the channel. Don't hesitate to visit my Patreon page. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time again. Bye bye!